The motivation for this production came as a result of a few years of frustration because we didn't seem to be able to get people to listen, to get their attention, to educate them in the way that we felt like was important. After our daughter Lisa was killed, she was in a domestic violence relationship off and on for 9 years. And so we had gone out and talked to groups, spoken at schools and other venues, and people would be interested and they would seem to understand that yes, there's a problem, but we wanted to be able to convey that message in a way that would stay with them a little bit longer and motivate them to take action.
How did the name of your organization come about?
Fix the Hurt was a name that we decided on because my husband was always the type of father that could fix anything. He would repair the wagon wheels on the wagons and put the bicycle chains back on their bikes and change the oil in their car and fix their broken dolls. He was always able to fix things. But when it came to Lisa's heart and the situation that she found herself in, the hurt that she was feeling and the hurt that our family was feeling, he couldn't fix that hurt.
What is your message with Domestic Violence the Musical?
Our hope is that anyone that sees Domestic Violence the Musical will not be able to leave and feel good about doing nothing. We want them to understand that there's something that they can do as a community member, as an employer, as a friend, to help someone that might be in desperate, dire needs.
Why do you think a musical is a better way to get your message to the public?
Well, as we thought about what kind of production we wanted to do, we didn't want to see a lot of hurting and hitting on the stage. So we wanted to be able to present that message, and through dance and through choreography and music, we can convey the message of the abuse without actually seeing it on the stage.
Who is your target audience?
Well, it seems that many of the people that attend Domestic Violence the Musical are in the business of helping those people that are victims. But our true target audience is the community, is your next door neighbor, is the grocery store owner, is the person that helps children walk across the street to get to school. It's just your everyday person that might not have the knowledge that's needed to be able to help someone that needs some assistance.
Tell us about the content of this musical production.
Domestic Violence the Musical has two main characters, the abuser and the victim. The play walks you through the mind of the abuser as he tries to justify his actions, and it also helps you understand the victim and why she stays, the things that happen in her life that make her feel isolated, the controlling factor that her abuser has over her. The rest of the cast is supporting her, trying to help her understand that they are there to help her when she needs a helping hand. We also have a female abuser because 15% of victims are males, and so we don't want to give the message that this is strictly a woman's issue. It is an everyone issue.
John and Linda King from Fix the Hurt came to me back, well, it's been about a little over a year. I knew of their organization and what they were putting across, and they said, can the performing arts be used to better put across our message about prevention? And I said, sure, it can always be used. And they said, a little bit more conversation, they said, how would you do it? I said, a play. And I said, and I would do a musical. And I said, I would name it Domestic Violence the Musical. And basically they said, well, and I said, because nobody's ever done this information or tried to do in that kind of format. And then that sent me into researching the different kind of things that had been done. And that's more or less how that came about.
Tell us about the musical selection.
I selected music that was general, you know, country, tango, waltz, everybody is familiar with that, gospel revival music. And the other reason I selected that style of music because I could write lyrics to it that would be in direct opposite of what the music is, opposite in tone of what the music is. And it makes it a little bit more absurd. This is a kind of dark comedy. Then that's why the selection of music the way it was.
How did you come to the decision to use different types of music in one musical instead of just one genre?
Every good musical that I've seen in the last 15, 20 years, the best one I can give an example of, Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat, is absolutely wonderful because they use styles of music that everybody in the audience at one point can identify with. And I felt that was important to do here.
What is your goal with Domestic Violence the Musical?
We're about prevention, and prevention in the terms of not being there to take the punch to begin with. Don't wait to get into a shelter before you start preventing yourself being abused or anything like that. Learn the steps, and this show is geared to an audience who knows absolutely nothing about domestic violence, but may have a friend or know somebody, and that friend is having trouble confiding in them, and it teaches the audience not to say the wrong thing and to help, because only really overall the community is who are the people who are really going to end the domestic violence problem.
Now, we also don't want to be redundant, but we find it advisable look at first glance. Neither victims nor abusers are immediately recognizable.
Then this one really makes me laugh. If we only hit you once, it'll probably never happen again.
Can I get a big horse buggy from the audience on that one, brothers and sisters?
Ready? Horse hockey!
Well, this was a very fun role for me, very different from my personality. I'm normally a pretty soft-spoken, quiet person. So getting to play a female abuser was kind of a step out of my norm. And so I got to really kind of go crazy and have fun with it. I actually have a friend who, I didn't know this, but she was a female abuser. And after I found that out and found out how she was treating her husband, I had a little bit of material to work off of. And so, you know, it wasn't the best experience for them, but it's more common than we know. So,
What message would you like to share with everybody today?
this is just so important. It's something that nobody thinks about. I certainly didn't think about it before I, got involved with this musical. I am very fortunate. I have not been touched by this, and it's so much more common than we think. And so I think awareness really is the key. If we all know about this, we can prevent it.
This is my number. I must apologize for my intruding. There are some other little myths that they're excluding. Let me make it quite clear, lest you get confused. This just in, you don't have to get hit to be abused. Now moving right along, it's very necessary, clearing up another crock of bovine scatology. Not dispelling this myth would truly be a sin. Newsflash, not all abusers are men.
Funny, she doesn't look like an abuser.
I know what you're thinking, but what can I say? A man pushed around by a woman?
No way!
You ask why he takes it, give my answer a twirl. If it were you, would you admit to being pushed around by a girl? Yes, silence is partly why we do so well at using the word love to make others' lives hell.
It's very uncomfortable. I get really shy really after the show and before the show, and that's not my personality. So Yeah, it's an uncomfortable subject matter, but it needs to be talked about. So that's, you know, I think that's really good that we're bringing it up.
Is there any special message or anything you want to share with people today?
I think to listen, just like our last song, you know, says, not to be judgmental. I think probably people don't go to their family or friends because they think they're gonna be judged. So, listen.
He didn't used to be like this. He was sweet and so solicitous, romantic and a lot of fun. But yes, he was a possessive one. He wanted it to be him and me. As I look back now, I can see he wanted it to be only him and me.
Yes, people judge her more than me because they don't understand this.
We abusers beat up the mind
Before we ever use the fist,
until the audience understands.
the art of our manipulation, or until it's one of your family we're beating.
There's really no obligation
For anyone in this room to kick up any kind of fuss.
as long as all of you keep thinking like that. You'll never get rid of us.
Ladies and gentlemen, Abuser 101. Time equals control. Control equals time.
What a mess she's in, it's true, but she can't see. His talk of spending more time together, just him and me, has nothing to do with love, but she can't tell.
With abusers, it's about
C-O-N-T-R-O. That spells control. Control.
And the lesson it's with her mind is messing and it's killing her soul.
It ain't about love or its charm that they're trying to sell.
It's all about C-O-N-T-R-O-L.
Well, yeah, when I first did the role, actually I set up a whole character and I kind of came to rehearsal and we did it a couple times, and then people took me aside. I thought I was being mean and nasty and just a bad person, and people like took me aside, they're like, you could be meaner and creepier, and you know, you're not really quite that creepy. And then I'm like, okay. Then I read a couple books on psychopaths and psychopathic tendencies, because that's really what an abuser usually is. At least they have psychopathic tendencies. So it's like, I had to get into the mindset of being a psychopath, just being completely irrational and being in control, always being right. I mean, it's so much deeper than that, but it's so hard to explain, like the workings inside my own brain.
How do you handle it when audience members come up to you and tell you or treat you like you're really this nasty abuser? How do you handle that?
Well, usually they say it half-heartedly. They come up and they explain to me how they were planning on hurting me during the show, and they usually say, well, I figured out that you're an actor, but I wanted to hurt you anyways. I've gotten going after your knees, I want to scratch at your eyes, I'm going to trip you in the aisle, but I want to be right. And they're like, I want to break your arms, I was going to jump on you, I was going to punch you in the face. I've gotten everything from it, and usually I take it as a compliment, because I want people to come up and attack an abuser. They really, well, not attack them, but I want them to have animosity towards them.
Why?
You see, there's some things all of you just don't understand.
He's going to explain to all of us what we don't understand.
Look, I'll admit, I get a little wound up. And let me tell you why. You see, it's really not my fault.
He doesn't think he's a bad guy.
There's all this stuff going on at work. They're cutting back.
His boss is a jerk. He got a ticket. coming home.
And we're a couple of months behind on our loan. And I had to go to work very early the next morning.
Is there an excuse he hasn't used?
Yeah, global warming.
By the time I get home, I'm in an agitated state. And you're supposed to be there.
But I had to work late.
Well, you should have called.
I left a message on the machine.
Yeah, she left 3 messages, but that doesn't mean that it makes any difference. See, she knows the drill. He's in jealous rage mode, which means he will
Start yelling, pushing.
He'll call me a whore.
I'll make anything up just to make sure that she understands the bottom line. I'm the man, I'm the boss, and she's mine.
Yes, abusers have no problems at all justifying assault.
You see, no matter what I do or say, it's never, ever my fault. Never,
Never,
ever
ever.
my fault.
Time out. Look, I don't like when he gets like that, but once he blows off a little steam, he always says he's sorry.
Oh, and it won't happen again, baby. I promise.
Look, can I get a big horse pucky from you smart people on that one? Horse pucky!
And if I just be better, I know he'll change.
And just to show you, sweetie, how sorry I am,
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
He sent her a singing telegram. Roses are red, you're black and blue. I'm sorry for beating the crap out of you.
roses are red. I never worry, you see. A little gift, and she always forgives me.
He brought me flowers at work the other day.
For the broken ribs, that's a cheap price to pay. It's a good thing she's got health insurance at work. It helps to pay the tab when he goes berserk.
Beautiful earrings the week before that, because the night before he threatened her with a bat. Then there was the candy, my favorite chocolate charm.
He did that to make up for
Spreading her arm.
Are you starting to see the pattern? Why he buys those nice expensive things? The flowers, the candy.
Don't forget the earrings. When it comes to saying I'm sorry, money's no object in that regard. And since these gifts are just for her, I pay for them with her credit card.
Well, when I was very young, was in an abusive relationship, verbally abusive, and someone said to me, I said, "Is your husband abusive?" And I said, "No." And I said, "No, he doesn't hit me." And she said, "That doesn't mean he's not abusive." So it's kind of, you can be abusive and not get physical. So know that there are other ways to treat people that, other than beating them up, that's still abusive, and they still shouldn't treat people that way. So that, there's things in the musical that kind of hit home that I can relate to, and luckily it's far enough away that I'm not emotionally overcome with it every time. As you get further away from that situation, it is easier to deal with. So there is some salvation at the end.
So you're a survivor.
Yeah.
Excellent. Do you have a special message you want to share with people today?
If you're a victim or in an abusive relationship, it isn't your fault. They make you feel like it's your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. You're not stupid. You're not ugly. You're not unlovable. It isn't your fault. It's their fault. So don't let them convince you otherwise.
What about her parents?
Yeah, that really works.
Mom just sits there and cries.
Daddy calls me a scumbag and a jerk.
Oh, I told you you never should have married that guy.
And yes, Dad is right. But let me tell you why that doesn't help me break away.
Because even though Dad doesn't mean for it to sound that way, what I hear in my jumbled, messed up brain is that my parents think I'm as stupid as he tells me I am.
You people just don't get it. None of you understand. Criticism guarantees that she will stand by her man.
Do you find some victims identify with you? Do you have people talk to you after the show and identify with you?
Yeah, we usually have one or two people come up and, you know, tell us they're glad we're putting out this message and, you know, that they've been through this. And pretty much everyone just says that everything we say is totally right on, and they're glad we brought up all the different points. So that's really important.
If a victim was seeing this video right now, what would you say to that victim?
I would say to have the courage to, you know, walk away, and if you have already walked away, to, you know, keep your strength and stick with it.
Though it still may be hard for all of you to believe, she don't stay because she wants to.
She stays because she don't know how to leave.
I'm a dead woman walking, a human punching bag.
It's all your fault, because that's what I've convinced her to believe.
Now, we know what you're thinking. You're thinking, why don't the old man sit him down and have a talk with him? Huh? Isn't that something to think about?
If she were your daughter, that's exactly what you do, right? Yes? She says this way.
No, no, Daddy, don't say nothing. You'll only make it worse, you see. 'Cause he'll turn it around, and then he'll take it out on me.
You gotta know, you know how hard it is to believe. They don't stay 'cause they want to, they stay 'cause they don't know how to leave. They don't know.
She's between a rock and a hard spot.
I've really hit the skids.
You tell anybody else, and I'll go after Mom and Dad. And I won't think twice about hurting the kids. You got that, sweetheart?
I do believe he's sincere. Yes, it's in a body bag, baby. That's my only way out of here. Yes, it's in a body bag, baby. That's my only way out of here. I can see the end a-coming. There's only one way this can end. He's gonna kill me, or I'm gonna have to kill him.
I think my favorite song is Why Can't He Just Die? Not being a violent person when I was having a problem with my first husband, it was like, you know, please, why doesn't he just get run over by a car or something?
Do-wop, 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 do-wop. That's really not such a bad idea. Why couldn't I just take him out? I guess I could do something like that. I've got the kids to think about. He shouldn't have moved their lives and all the things that they had. To go to jail to see Mommy, 'cause she killed their dad. Yes, I go to church every Sunday, and I sit and wonder why. Oh dear Lord, I don't get it. Why can't he just die?
Sunday, and she sits and ponders why.
Oh, dear Lord, I know I'm a little slow, but why can't he just
Die.
In a way, I wish we never had kids. That's not very motherly, I'm sure.
If she didn't, she'd be dead already. But they give me more control over her.
I know I must sound like a whack job. That's easy for me to explain.
She's a whack job.
And my attorney could plead that I'm insane.
A
word to the
psycho.
wise from us victims. Just let me say, if you marry an abuser, have lots of kids. He'll still kill you, but you'll live a little longer that way.
Yes, she goes to church every Sunday.
Can you blame me for asking God why? Please, God, give me a break. Get it? Domestic violence? Give me a break?
Ba-dum-bum.
Never mind. Why can't he just Wait. What am I saying? Did you hear the words that just came out of my mouth?
Yes, I did.
This is not the me I used to be.
You need to find her, and in order to do that,
I need to get out.
That's right.
But there's no way.
Yes, there is.
I can't.
Why?
Because
She loves him.
yes.
Let's tell them about our game, Lauren.
Yes, indeedy. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time to play. It's time to get the heck out of Dodge, where those who stick around always end up in the ground. Who's playing our game tonight, Micaiah?
Well, we haven't put her name on a gravestone yet, but let's bring her down. Next victim, come on down.
Give her a hand, everybody. Give her a hand. Give her a hand.
Stop it. This isn't funny. Stop.
Excuse me. What did you just say?
I said stop. This is my life. Or what's left of my life that we're talking about. This isn't a game.
Exactly. That's why the detour to the theater of the absurd.
Because this nightmare doesn't start to stop until she says that word.
She said stop. Let's have a round of applause.
Give her a round of applause, everybody. Come on.
That's right. That's something most victims never do.
I want to take you back to the beginning of the show, where it was said, the two of you will have to listen, then take action. That's the dare.
Listen, then take action. That's all you have to do. The time to listen, then taking action, doing the right thing.
That's all it will ever cost any of you.
If she comes to you in confidence, put your judgments aside. Remember, if you criticize her abuser, in you she will no longer confide.
Listen before anything you say, and when you do say something, tell her
you're a good person. I'm concerned for your safety. You don't deserve to be treated that way.
If you're being abused and you're here tonight, this is a must. You know you're in danger. We know you want out. So find someone you can trust.
It has to be someone he doesn't know. Someone he could never guess would be the one to help get you out of this mess.
Mom and Dad, if she comes to you, don't express any contempt toward him. Express love and concern for her safety. Ask her, what can we help you do? Employers, for far too long, when apprised of this situation, some of you say that this kind of thing needs to stay at home. Some even threaten termination. Spiritual leaders, you're not off the hook. But we know the tough spot you're in. God will help her fix herself. It'll take more than God to fix him.
And even if he rehabs, in 8 cases out of 10, if the two of them get back together, he'll start beating her again.
Listen, listen, before anything you say.
Understand that the longer everybody doesn't try to help, people like him will never be put away.
Listen, listen, before anything you say. Listen, listen.
What fields and agencies have you received the most interest from?
You know, the interested agencies for this production are so varied. Many times it is a domestic violence shelter that is trying to raise money to support their agency. Other times it's been district attorney's offices that have shown an interest in assisting victims. Other agencies have been the Texas Crime Victims Services Agency. We've even had sheriff's departments and police departments that have shown an interest. And of course the military. Military has been a huge supporter, and we're so appreciative of the interest that they have and also the motivation that they have to bring this message to their military servicemen and women.
Which military installations have you performed at?
Last October, which was our the first year in production, we had a performance at Holloman Air Force Base, and then we've recently been to Fort Bliss, and so happy to be here at Shepherd Air Force Base and the reception that we've received here. And then the last week in October, we traveled to Iwakuni, Japan, to the Marine Air Station there for 3 performances. So, and there's been other interest from other military bases and posts around the United States and Australia even about having the message brought for their men and women.
You shared with me earlier Fix the Hurt is a grassroots organization.
Fix the Hurt is a grassroots organization. We're a nonprofit 501c3 organization that's operating on a shoestring. We feel like the message is so important that when we first started, we were willing to dig into our savings to get this off the ground and to bring this information that's so needed to those that are out there waiting to hear it.
With this production being so personal for you, is it difficult for you to watch the musical?
You know, I've said that when I can watch this without having a tear in my eye, then I know it's time to move on. But that time has not come yet. It is very personal for me. It's a combination of years and years and tears. So we feel like that we've come to a point that this is what we have to say, and we're going to say it.
Do you feel you have accomplished your goals with the show, and if so, how?
I feel that Domestic Violence, the musical, in and of itself is entertaining, educational, and raises awareness. But it's not the answer. More information is needed, and that's why we encourage people as they leave to not be satisfied with just going away and doing nothing. They need to engage themselves. They need to make themselves aware of the resources that are available around them. Go on the internet, talk to people. They will come in contact with someone that needs their help someday, and they will be glad that they were brave enough and took the time to find out what they could do to help.